Hello and welcome to Big Nemo Gaming. Today we are kicking off a new series, playing Slay the Spire, a deck-building, dungeon-crawling roguelike by Megacrit. I usually don't play deck-building games. I'm not a Hearthstone guy. Played a little bit of Magic way back in the day, but just not something I've ever really gotten into. But I've seen a few people streaming this and figured why not, and I've really enjoyed the game. It's a nice one to just spin up and play for a little bit. So let's get going. We have a couple options when we kick off the game, either the standard mode or daily climb. Daily climb was recently unlocked for us in this early access mode. It's just kind of a challenge mode. But we're going to go standard mode. And we have a couple of different heroes unlocked at this point, which are the Ironclad and the Silent. Today we're going to play as the Ironclad, and this hero, is more of a strength-based hero, wants to do a lot of damage in a single shot. We start with 80 hit points, 99 gold. He's the remaining soldier of the Ironclad, sold his soul to harness demonic energies. Starts with a relic called Burning Blood, which will allow us to heal 6 HP at the end of combat. So let's get going. And now Act 1 is the Exordium, and we will meet up with Niao, this giant 6, I would assume, eyed undead whale creature? I don't know. You unlock him once you hit at least the boss in the Exordium. And then he gives you some bonuses. So we've got a few options available. And, I don't like sacrificing HP, but I'm kind of a fan of getting a card out of our deck here early on. Let's be aggressive. Let's get rid of a defensive card, and let's go full RSOTs, full right side of the screen, and let's just attack. And after receiving our blessing from Niao, we're brought to the map screen, where you can see here we have a legend on the right, and these little monster-looking icons, those are enemies, and that's a shop. You have a few other things: unknown locations, merchants, treasure locations, rest sites, little campfires, and elites. And enemies will give you cards and some other benefits. Elites will give you relics, such as Burning Blood here, which is a default relic that you receive as a starting item with the Ironclad. And then you can also gain potions from killing people. They will give you bonuses or, to yourself or hinder your enemy. And then in the top right, you see the map screen, which is where we are. We can also pull up a view of our deck as it currently stands. We have 9 cards. That's a nice quick reference for you. And it tells you a bit about each of the cards. The bash card there has the vulnerable status that it applies, which we'll see how that works out. That'll add, I believe, 20% or 50% damage to any attacks to a vulnerable enemy. You can become vulnerable. Enemies can become vulnerable. So we're just going to kind of take a look at the pathing here. And I like the idea of hitting something that has a few question mark sites and some upgrades on it. So let's get going. And if you mouse over each of these enemies, you can get a little info about them. You see their name underneath. That's a louse. It has 10 HP. At the top, you can see its intent, which is it's aggressive. That means it intends to attack for 6 damage. And it has the ability to curl up. So as soon as it takes attack damage, it will roll up and gain 4 block, which you can see the icon down below and the number 4 above it. So the amount of damage that an enemy does, or how an attribute or skill will be applied, varies per enemy. So then the louse on the right we see has a strategic intent, meaning it's going to use a buff on itself or its ally, and it only has 3 in its roll-up armor. And now you can see the armor icon there, and that louse has 4 armor. And we're going to continue attacking it so that its attack means nothing to us, and we remain full HP. To the left, you see our energy gauge. We start with 3 energy per turn, and each card has energy. You can see that in the top left. Both my Defend and Strike have 1 energy cost. And then we're going to end our turn, so we replenish our energy. This louse is going to attack us for 9 damage. And, ideally, we don't want to take any damage. And if we were to attack him, we'll do 8 with this. Apply vulnerable, and then that will cause 9 damage from a strike, since we'll do 50% more damage, which should be enough. And we've got lethal, so he is dead. And we got some gold. We managed to gain a potion, so at the end of every combat, you get some spoils. And we see our gold pouch amount went up. We gained a weak potion, which will weaken enemy creatures. So it says apply 3 weak. That means 3 turns of weak rather than tripling the weak value. So for each of 3 rounds, it will have 25% less damage dealt. And some card options. I like Headbutt. It's a nice strong attack, and it lets us pull a card out of our discard pile, so a little bit of a card cycling mechanic, and help us keep the cards that we care about in game and at the top of the top of our deck. Purify is nice. So usually it costs 75 or more to remove a card from your deck. So getting this for 50 gold early on is kind of beneficial. And I'm not sure if we want to go attack or defend. Defend would be good to continue to remain aggressive, but that could put us at a disadvantage. So let's just pull a strike, play it a little bit safe right now, but still keeping our deck small so that we cycle frequently. We're going to fight again because we want to continue to earn bonuses. And we'll headbutt him. That pulls our bash back into our draw pile, which you can see on the left, and then on the bottom right you see your discard pile. Each of those shows the quantity of cards that are in said pile. And we're going to bash him. So we're currently frail. He applied a status, so we get less block. So I think we'll defend, so we only take 5 damage. And now we should be lethal on this turn. And we'll heal back up to full. And there we go. Options. Oh, Heavy Blade is an amazing card. And if we get that, it does 14 damage, and then you get strength bonuses. As you gain strength as a hero, you do, 1 additional damage, I believe, per strength. Probably wrong in the math on that, but you can get cards to gain strength. So Heavy Blade can be very strong late game. Early game can be just way OP if you've got some strength gain. So now we see the Cultist has his Ritual, which will give him 3 strength gain per turn. So we're on a clock with this guy. We need to kill him as quickly as possible. So we're just dumping on damage. We use Headbutt to pull our Heavy Blade back to the top of our deck, and we'll finish him off. Get some gold. I would say Perfected Strike in most decks, but we already threw a strike away, so I don't want to go down that road right now. I think that ship has sailed. We're committed to strength gain and Heavy Blade. We'll get drop kicked because we're looking to apply vulnerability, and if we've got a vulnerable enemy and we get a free attack, that's too much right. So we just maximize our damage and then weaken the enemy for 3 turns using our available potion. That's something that I often have a hard time with, is remembering I have potions available to me. So we're going to drop a Heavy Blade on this guy and defend. And we'll take another 1 damage, and he's made us vulnerable now. And he's looking to apply a negative effect on us, but we've got so much damage, doesn't matter. He is dead. We've gained an energy potion, and another perfect strike comes up, or perfected strike, but it's not worthwhile. So, at this point in time, there's no need to overheal, because we heal for 30% of our max HP, so I think we will smith to upgrade a card. And you can do this at every rest site or campfire that you come to. And there are other things you can unlock later in the game. We picked up that Iron Wave last time, gain 5 block, do 5 damage, so that's a cool card. But Heavy Blade, that's going to be our bread and butter here. So I think we upgrade that, so we go from 3 to 5 times strength impact on the Heavy Blade. We don't have strength gain yet, so we're rolling the dice, assuming we will eventually get it. But if we're going to be successful on this run, we're going to have to get some strength gain and get that Heavy Blade engine online. I like the idea of upgrading as many cards as possible. But this path to the right, we've got 3 question marks, a campfire. We can hit 2 campfires before the end, and a treasure chest. I kind of like that because those question marks can be anything. We'll get combat, but sometimes you could get, new cards or upgrades or shops. So we'll just dump some damage on this guy. We're going to take 7 damage. Yeah, let's just use our energy and protect ourselves. Alright. And then get that vulnerability out there. And headbutt back our Heavy Blade. That's working nicely right now. We're going to have to tank 12 damage, but so be it. And we take him out. Looking good so far. So these cards, I guess metallicize. None of the others really seem that good, and I'm not too keen on metallicize, honestly. What that does is it lets us have passive armor, gain. Oh, and we're 13 damage shy of Pen Nib. Pen Nib it would be amazing with this deck. Every 10th attack you play deals double damage, so it just starts to counter. Lantern would be nice as well, you know, some energy gain. Really, though, of all of these, I think Shockwave is the best fit for our deck. So if we can make people vulnerable and weak for the long term, because by default, it is 3 vulnerable and 3 weak. You upgrade it, it's 5 vulnerable, 5 weak to all enemies. Whereas right now, and you can right-click on the card to see these things. Right now, you know, we've got Bash, which is nice for a single enemy, but it's expensive. I could spend the same amount of money and get vulnerability across the board. That's great. Searing Blow is a nice card, but I think that we focus on applying vulnerability, so ramping up our damage and, you know, getting some strength gain later on, and really just commit to that Heavy Blade. So that's really all we can afford there. And we'll see if we get another up. Okay, and there's Orichalcum. So that is 6 block if you end your turn without block. So that works nicely with our Arsat's strategy, where we're just going to go wail on people. Okay, search, find loot, 25%. And what could go wrong? Of course. So we get a Lagavulin right out of the gate, which is pretty lame. But, you know, we can put our Shockwave to use. He's going to debuff us a bit, and he does some nasty things to you. We're going to lose strength and agility, which means everything we do is less effective each time he does that to us. And he'll do it again. And we've got some options. I don't want him italicized because that's less block than Orichalcum's going to do. So we're just going to attack against this guy. And we'll headbutt. We don't have anything in the draw pile. It doesn't really matter. That's the maximum amount of damage we could have done to him right now. And we're taking damage. This is a little bit different. And he's looking to debuff us again, which is not good. Unfortunately, the you know, the weakness and the vulnerability is worn off. So we'll just throw some damage at this guy. And right now, this 3 energy is crippling us a little bit. And that's a misplay on my part. I should not have played that because of Orichalcum. But we are just going to keep dumping damage on him. And again, of course, pull our Heavy Blade back so that next turn we have lethal. Oh no, we've got it now. Cool. So we get Bronze Scales, which is a really nice addition here, as now we're gaining some passive damage. It's kind of weird though, because it says whenever you take damage, deal 3 damage back, but taking damage, I guess, means, you know, taking damage as to HP or to armor. That's what taking damage is, and it can apply it to either of those 2 locations. So now if people attack us, we actually do damage back. I like Pommel Strike. It's good damage, and it gives us some card draw, so we can cycle a little bit, because we don't have any card cycling mechanics yet. We'll heal up. Prefer to upgrade when possible, but, you know, I'm looking to hit an elite possibly soon, so it's worth getting ourselves upgraded a bit, or healed back up. As far as these different cards are concerned, I mean, we get some improved damage. I think Shockwave might be the best option here, so we can get that up to 5 turns. Yeah, let's go with that. And let's go after this elite. And we've got a Gremlin Knob. We'll just dump some damage at him right now and apply some vulnerability. And he just enraged himself, which you see says whenever I play a skill, he gains 2 strength. So this just kind of plays into our hands because we don't want to play skills. We just want to attack. And if you look at the cards, you can see that our attacks, you know, the headbutt is an attack card. And then a defend card is a skill card. So by defending, we are likely to take more damage. Unfortunately, I keep forgetting about Orichalcum, that, you know, my Iron Wave, or whatever that card's called, is just not a good fit anymore. And as risky as this is, I kind of like the idea of just dumping damage on and tanking that 21. Or 15, really. Yeah, 1 more attack and he's dead. Easy peasy. There we go. and Mercury Hourglass. So now we deal 3 damage to all enemies at the start of our turn. The passive damage engine is coming online a little bit. I mean, that's not enough to kill somebody. You can't just sit back and wait. But it is kind of nice. And as far as these cards are concerned, I don't think any of these work. We're not doing any block tech. We just attack. So Body Slam makes no sense. And Feel No Pain, we're not doing Exhaust tech. And True Grit, no, these are all Exhaust and block tech. And they make no sense to me at all. So we will just keep going with the deck that we have. We're up to 15 cards. That upgraded Shockwave, you can see under each of the enemies now that they have 5 turns of vulnerability and 5 turns of weakness. And again, we only do 5 block because reasons. And we're going to throw our Heavy Blade out, and we will kill both of these this turn. So that worked out alright. Looking at these 3 cards, I mean, Rage is okay, but we're only doing 1 or 2 strong attacks in a turn, and we only gain 3 blocks, so it's not that beneficial. And we're not doing much on skills, so Corruption makes no sense. And we aren't blocking, so Juggernaut makes no sense. So we'll just keep going. You know, we want to kind of commit to our deck type, which is going to be vulnerability-driven DPS with hopefully some strength gain supporting it. And we're down 16 HP, but I think it's worth going into this boss fight, just upgrading a card. We've got a chance for an upgrade, so I like the idea of maxing things out. And when we've seen Bash, we've used it, so I think getting some extra vulnerability out there and more damage makes sense. And we're playing against the Hexaghost right now. We don't know his intentions, according to the game anyways. So we will, I think, just throw some damage at him as much as we possibly can. We pull a strike back with our headbutt. And he is lighting things up, and he's going to do 6 attacks for 6 damage each, so 36 damage total. And I think we'll weaken him and apply vulnerability right now, and wait on the Heavy Blade. Just hit him with some damage, so that, you know, took away 12 damage. What's nice about multi-attack enemies into a Bronze Scales is they damage themselves quite a bit. So Hexaghost, he's backed off a little bit. We'll throw a Pommel Strike to get a draw in, and then we'll just throw some regular strikes his way. And he's hit us and applied a burn. So we'll Heavy Blade. We've got 1 burn in our deck. And there's no need to block because we've got Orichalcum, and we can't do better than that. So we'll Heavy Blade and cycle it back into our deck with a Headbutt. And we'll throw another Heavy Blade at him and Headbutt back into our Heavy Blade. So that's starting to play, that's playing very nicely. Okay, so we'll drop a Heavy Blade once again. And strike. And he's buffing and armoring up. So he's at, 38 HP at this point. I think we'll apply some more vulnerability. And we get another card. And we have a burn card in our deck, a status card. It's unplayable. We're going to take 2 damage. And he's going to do 14 damage to us. And passive damage kills him. Very nice. And that pretty much, that wraps up the first floor, the Exordium, Act 1. We've got a few options for cards here. Fortunately, we healed a full afterwards, so, you can kind of stack HP in that battle. I like offering. I think we don't have any energy gain right now. If we upgrade it, we can draw 5 cards. So card cycle plus energy gain means that we can have our Heavy Blade in our hand all the time. Bludgeon is pretty amazing at 32 damage, but that 3 energy cost is brutal. We simply can't afford that right now. So I think we'll go with offering right now, and maybe later in the game we'll see another bludgeon. Who knows? We have 3 relics available from beating the boss of this act. Velvet Choker, gain energy at the start of each turn. Cannot play more than 6 cards per turn. That's pretty nice, actually, because we're not looking to play a lot of cards. We're playing 1 to 2 cards per turn. But then there's the Lizard Tail, which means when we die, we heal to 50% of our max HP. Otherwise, you've got 1 life. It's a roguelike. So I see no reason. I mean, I hate bypassing Lizard Tail because it's amazing. So that's going to wrap things up. Thanks for joining me. I'm Big Nemo. Go ahead and like the video if you like this series so far, and leave me some comments, and subscribe if you haven't already. We'll see you next time.